Change everything.
Where you need to go.
Right here. So just type the letter up and send it to them.
You got to type the letter up and just send it along with the report.
Good morning, Chandra.
Good morning. How are you?
Doing good. Looking forward to this.
Well, hopefully it's going to be helpful for everyone. So that's what the goal is.
Okay, that's what she got. Good morning.
Good morning.
Okay, she got it.
Good
Okay,
morning.
We got it, Teresa. Yeah. This is what you pull out, right? Yeah.
They ain't showing the pictures.
I think that's how she got to set up. I'm trying to get in. So, when it first came on, she was in there. Okay, there you go. She go. Hey, good morning, Chandra. Can she hear?
Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. How are you this morning?
I'm good, and you?
Good. I'm doing real good. I'm gonna.
Oh, she's working.
Bear with me 1 minute.
What's the name? So he was kind of confused. He didn't know he had to go.
Yeah.
All right.
Hey. I'm connected, but I'm not showing that I'm on here. I mean, it's got help ink, but it's not showing my picture and I'm not hearing anything.
All right. So what
Yes,
you'll need to do, you should have a mute button and a start a video button, and it'll show like a microphone, and then it'll show like a camera.
Hold on just a second. Let me see if I can unmute my computer. It's taking up the whole screen. Start video. There we go. But I still can't hear her.
Can you hear me now? Might be your microphone sound. Turn up your microphone on your computer. Good morning, everyone. Thank you guys for joining this morning. We've got a couple of people that are still trying to log in, so we'll just give them a minute or two and then we'll get started because I know you guys are all busy and you know, we want to make this as efficient as possible for you guys, but we'll give them just a few more minutes and then we'll get started.
Hey, Chandra, I'm testing the audio for my agency.
Okay.
Okay, great. We got it set up. Thank you.
All right, wonderful. All right, with that, we'll go ahead and get started. I think most everybody has come in. All of you guys are muted at this time. If you guys will just know that what we're gonna do is this meeting will, or this training does not supplement the training that's happening, you know, on the 17th, 18th, and 19th. So you guys will need to continue to do that training. We did something a little differently this year with the Excel spreadsheet. And so we kind of wanted to talk through that with you guys so you guys didn't jump in. I know how eager you guys are to work on the grant, and we didn't want you guys to jump in and then have to back up and kind of restart where you guys were at. So we're going to just kind of talk through a couple of things. If you have any questions, go ahead and there's a chat button. You can hit that chat button. It'll pull up a little white window and you can type any questions in there and it'll go out to everyone. So everyone will be able to see your questions. Then at the very end of the meeting, we'll just open the floor and anybody that has questions can ask questions. I know several of you have meetings after this. So then at that point, if you need to drop off, just drop off. You know, that's absolutely okay. I know you guys are busy and you guys need to move on. So that's absolutely fine. And I'll stay at the end and answer as many questions as I can. But like I said, if you have a question that you feel like is pertinent, like right as where we're at, go ahead and just type that into chat to keep us streamlined and on target with our timing today. But let's kind of dive in. First of all, you guys, when you received your first email, you received, basically you received 3 documents with that initial email. You received these instructions, and then you also received the full grant application, which has this full grant application that has basically everything in it. It includes these type of informational instructions as well as an agency information sheet. So then in addition to that, you receive basically a spreadsheet that looks like this, which is what we're really going to mainly focus on today. Now, a couple of things that we do want to focus on just because you're getting started is the instructions. It's very important for you to look at those documents, read these documents. It has a lot of valuable information. The main thing I want to point out to you today is these funding ratios. The funding ratios did go back to the 50-50 for operations and the 80-20 for administration, and your capital will be 80-20. There will not be a buy one, get one this year. So everyone be aware of that. There is not a buy one, get one this year. So that's very important to talk about. Another topic we're going to talk about a little bit later is the option of preventative maintenance under capital. And we'll talk about that when we get more focused in on the Excel spreadsheet. But I want to encourage you to make sure that you read the instructions because there's a lot of valuable information in there. It talks about how to submit the application, everything. So we encourage you to read that. Now, with that said, of course, there's additional details and information within the grant application itself. Okay, so that basically kind of steps you also through the process of what you need to fill out. Then also, because we've been asked in the past, later after the initial email, the regional manager sent you basically a blank document. This blank document just has like insert here documents. We started doing this a few years ago because of the fact the formatting in the other grant is kind of a little different, and a lot of you were not familiarized with that. So this way the formatting's removed, so it's easier for you to drop and drag and basically put your information in this blank document. So those are kind of the documents that you've received and kind of an overview of all of that. Now, our main topic today is going to be this Excel spreadsheet. So that's what I want to focus on. You will notice when you open up the Excel spreadsheet, there's a multitude of tabs across the bottom. You will notice that they are color coded. You've got instructions on yellow, then you have green tabs, and you have blue tabs all the way across, and you can scroll those tabs here with these buttons right here. Now we're going to focus here on the instructions tab. I recommend that you maybe print this out before you get started because it does have important information on it. And then that way, when you get to each tab, you have it readily available. But one of the biggest things that we want to talk about in this is ALDOT has gone to, well, let me back up. So on the green tabs, you will notice they are numbered. You need to complete those tabs in the numerical order that they are in. This helps to populate. The way this is designed is to hopefully help you guys with some of the work you're having to do. It'll auto-populate throughout, so you don't have to do as much work. This is new to us. We believe we've tested it, and we believe that it's working really well, but that doesn't eliminate the fact that you as a manager need to double check the numbers and make sure they are balancing and correct. For the green tabs, they are numbered. They need to be done in numbered order, and you need to, for the blue tabs, they automatically populate. So there's really nothing you need to do on those other than verify the numbers. Okay, so we're going to start with the operations budget, which is here. One thing I want to point out is you have some directions that are over here on the right side of the page here. Okay. The way this document is currently set up is like by print preview, because you can see what's going to print. If you decide to change that, you can change that by these areas right here. If you want to see the more white pages or any of that, you can change the view of that if you so choose. What we're going to do today is we're going to kind of walk through. So I'm going to give you an example for this particular thing. Because I'm in Baldwin County, I'm going to type in Baldwin County. Okay. You're going to change your RPT number, which everyone is unique. And then you will take and type in the name of the applicant name, which is normally going to be like a like Test Commission or the City of, or something of that nature. It's going to need to match what the applicant is, the applicant name is. Okay. You're going to type in this information here. We have a standardized budget this year, which, so you know, you cannot change this information over here at all. You're going to have to take your current budget line items, descriptions, and you're going to have to match them to these line items the best that you can. If you have something that you're not sure where to go, send your regional manager an email on that topic, and they will find out where it should be located if it's not already an option. Another thing about the standardized budget, the way this is set up, if you have no background checks, you would just leave 0 here or put in a 0. But everything needs to have a numerical value beside it. And these numbers need to be entered as whole numbers. So they need to be, $14 or, 54,123. It needs to be whole numbers though. Do not put any cents in this because you have to have whole numbers. Also, because of the ratio change, know that if it is listed under administration, you can claim it under administration and receive 80% federal funding on it. You can also, some items you can claim under operations as well and get 50-50 on. So you as a manager have to decide where to put this. However, ALDOT is looking at your funding percentages this year. And the ultimate goal for them is for there to be a 60-40 split, with operations being a greater expense. And with fuel prices right now, hopefully that will not be a problem for you guys, but they are they're comparing operations and admin, and they're looking at looking for a ratio somewhere close to 60-40. They want to make sure your administration costs are not greater than your operation costs. So be aware of that as you're preparing for your budget. Now back to also on your budget, something you need to be aware of is they will be reviewing anything that's over a 15% increase. They're going to be requiring you to provide a justification of that increase. So I want you guys to be aware of that as well. So that's just a couple of things to kind of give you some ideas of, once you get your budget prepared, go back and take a look at it and make sure of those percentages of the splits of the budget, and make sure of your budget increase percentage. You can justify any increase over that 15%. Okay, so let's dive in a little deeper into these spreadsheets. Basically, for this particular sheet, you complete this area, complete this area, complete this area, and then you basically type in these amounts. To save some time today, I basically generated kind of some numbers. So I'm going to just kind of copy and paste these over. What this will then automatically do is it automatically totals your budget amount here for operations. Then when you move on to your next administration budget, it's basically the same thing, but because this will auto generate this information from you, since you did tab 1 first. That's why it's important to do them in the numerical order, because it does pull information forward. But you as an agency need to make sure that all of the information is populated. Here again, if it's in administration, it will qualify for administration. Again, whole numbers do not include cents. And you cannot change these budget line items. If there's something you don't see there, or something that you need, or something you're not sure of where to put, reach out to your regional manager. Again, once you put your numbers in here, you will of course get a total number here. Next is the vehicle request budget. For this vehicle request budget, you only have 2 vehicles that will be available this year. Double check to make sure your name pulled over properly for the automatic filling. For here, you would just put in, if you want 1 vehicle apiece, you automatically enter the numbers. It will give you the overall calculation. And here you would just put if that's a replacement vehicle or a new vehicle. Fred, I see. I'll make sure you and Patty get the spreadsheet, okay? Next for the capital, so capital planning budget. If you look at this budget, automatically you're going to see that your capital amount is pulling from this request budget. You see this number here will automatically pull over for your capital budget. What's here in yellow then becomes your responsibility as an agency. Preventative maintenance, that is a hot topic this year. Preventative maintenance can be claimed under capital as an 80-20 expense. Preventative maintenance will include any maintenance done to that vehicle, including tires, any repair to that vehicle shall be included under the capital preventative maintenance. So I want to point that out to you guys, that you can get an 80% federal funding for preventative maintenance if you choose to do that. If you choose to do that, you would need to move that out of your operational budget and over into your preventative maintenance area here. And support equipment, of course, you would put that information in. Sole source, you can put that information in. And this also would be where you would put your plan, any kind of planning. If you're doing a transit study or something like that, you would need to put your amount here. If you have an item that is different than one of these three items, you need to click here and insert a description and add the amount of what it would be, okay? This is no different than what you have done in previous years. However, this is just kind of how we've got it set up, okay?
Hey, Chandra.
Yes.
It's Lauren. I just wanted to, you might want to mention that if moving your maintenance funding out of operations makes your operations total budget become less than your admin budget, then you can't move it.
Correct, correct. That's a very good point. Back to that 60-40 split that ALDOT's trying to look at. That's a very good point, Lauren. You've got to make sure if you're going to move that funding that you're not offsetting that ratio of your admin to operations. Very, very good. Yes. So anyway, this is kind of how you know, and again, whole numbers, no cents. This information automatically pulls over up here. Just make sure that it, you know, that it is correct. Double check these numbers, okay? For fun's sake, I am going to put in like $50,000 here for, or not 50, let's just say $5,000 here for preventative maintenance, just to kind of provide an example. The next sheet is your contract and revenue sheets. For this particular area, you would type in your fare box, again, enter whole numbers, and any kind of advertising revenue that you have, you would just type in this information. If you have any contracts, you would insert those contract names in here. And it needs to be like, for the example of what's going to match your contract name, who the agency you're doing it with. And then you would just put in whatever, you know, that amount is for the year. And again, whole numbers, not cents, you know. So this is where it kind of becomes a little tricky. This is basically a revenue sheet. I'll enlarge it a little bit so it'll help. This is basically your revenue, your financial revenue sheet. Once you put all this information in, this sheet automatically directs all of that revenue to operations, because that is what 90% of you as agencies do, is you put your contract revenue to your operations side. So this contract revenue is going to here, but If you choose for some reason to move that, then you will have to manually change these numbers. So what I'm saying is right now this number goes, everything goes into operations. If you want only $500 to go to operations, you need to fill that in as $500. Then this to, you know, $1,000 if you want it to go to administration. But standard procedure is it all goes into operations, and that's how the spreadsheet is set up. But if you choose to do it differently, you just need to fill out all of these sections and then make sure this number and this number match. And if it's green, it matches. Okay. A couple of questions. Can mechanic salaries be in capital? My understanding at this time is no. I would recommend asking that question again with ALDOT present at the 17th, 18th, and 19th meetings. But my understanding is no, it is listed as an operational expense. If you're still not collecting fares, that is correct. You would put a 0 amount under fares. So if you are not collecting fares at this time, your fare box would be 0. Okay. Next, you're going to go over to a blue tab. This blue tab, as you can see, has automatically calculated everything for you. It's brought over your fare box. It's brought over your operating expenses. This is your net. This is going to tell you what your 50% federal funding is and what your local funding is. It's calculating your contracts for you, your advertising for you. It is calculating absolutely everything for you. Double check these numbers, of course, to the other sheets. Based on all of our beta testing, it is pulling over correctly, but you just need to make sure. And you'll see this is broken down by your operations.
Yeah, that's it.
This is your local share funds. So basically what this is doing is this total and this total should match. This is saying how you're coming up with this total. This is administration. Again, same philosophy. This is your total administration budget. This is your local fundings, your federal funding, your local funding, and then basically this is your local share funds. This is basically how you're coming up with that money. Same thing with this capital budget over here. Again, everything should automatically pull because it's a blue tab. Everything is calculating out for you. This should be your federal funding. This should be your local funding. And this is basically how you're coming up to that $26,399. Planning, same philosophy. We didn't put anything in planning, so the amounts will all be 0 here. Then you have this, which calculates everything for you. So this column totals to this, here, all of these total the columns up and down. This totals across here. These numbers should match with your budget source sheets as you have designated. You will need to fill in if you have an escrow account, you will need to fill in the escrow account amount as of March 30th. And for that escrow account, if you do not have one, just put an N/A in there so that communicates to us as we're reviewing the documents that you don't have one. It'll save us from going back. Next, you go back into a green tab. Basically with this green tab, this is your vehicle inventory form. You should be able to go into TMS and be able to print this form out or export this form out in Excel. Then once you open that document up, and I just kind of typed in some information just so we would have an example. You can basically copy and paste that information into this document so that you'll have it. You will need to update the useful lives to whatever is appropriate. You know, 5, 7, 10 years for that particular vehicle. 5 is what we've put in here only because for testing, that's why they all list 5. You have spaces for 50 vehicles. If you don't have 50 vehicles, then you can delete these rows. You do not need all of them. Or when you copy and paste this document into your document, just, you know, just copy and paste the first 5 rows. It's entirely up to you for this particular document. And I haven't mentioned that, but every single one of these documents, you can copy and paste it into your grant application. So you don't, it'll copy and paste directly into the blank sheet that you already have, okay? Once you have this information in the vehicle inventory sheet, then you move on to the vehicle profile sheet, and voila, you already have information in here. It has pulled directly from the other document. So all of your VIN numbers will be here. Your funding will be here. Your model years will be here. You as an agency will just need to go in and complete if it's, you know, a minivan, and you need to make sure you use the right cutting. I mean, the right symbols, and that is within the grant. And you would just basically complete, you know, what the mileage was. I'm just typing some things in here so that we'll have what the seating capacity is, what your tag number is. If it has a lift, you would need to do, you can do yes, no. Sorry, I should have done this too, but you would put in your start time. And and that is one thing with the time coding. You do need to have a space between your AMs and PMs, just so you know that, or it won't calculate. And then basically you would type in your usage, if it's for ARC, if it's for work routes, you know, whatever, meter routes. And then you basically would just mark what, you know, what days of the week you're using them for. Just like what you normally do in the previous years. And then you can add a description of service as well. Just make sure that you follow the guides in the grant for what the, you know, what definitions and everything should be going into here. Then once you do that, you go into your non-expendable form. One thing that I do want to communicate to you on this form, oh, back to the vehicle profile thing that I did forget. On the vehicle profile sheet, again, you have 50 rows here. If you don't need all of those, do not put all 50 rows in your grant. Only select this area here, you know, and put just this area into your grant, because that's all you need. For your non-expendable equipment, this definition has changed. So I want everyone to pay close attention to this definition. Inventory of an article, non-expendable, tangible property having a useful life of more than 1 year and a cost of $5,000 or more. So those $200 desk chairs that some of you guys have on your list, that is no longer necessary to put on this report. It's basically a cost of $5,000 or more and a 1 year usage on that vehicle. So that is changed. So as you're updating that, make sure. And the question on the vehicle inventory sheet, the answer to that question is, so the question is, some of us have older vehicles. Do we want those listed that are past useful life? Yes. Any vehicle that is federally funded, then you should have it listed on that vehicle. If it is still on, if ALDOT still has a lien on that vehicle, it should be located on this vehicle inventory form. So if you have not disposed of that vehicle and ALDOT's not removed from that title, it must be on this vehicle inventory. It must also be on the vehicle profile sheet, because ultimately you should have the same number of vehicles on your profile sheet as your inventory sheet. These numbers of quantity have to match. It's one of the things that we review. So for non-expendable, so the next question is $5,000 total or per item. It is my understanding if per item is my understanding, Carl. It's a $5,000 value per item. Next question is, how do we determine useful life on things like shop tools? That is going to be an individual decision as far as the useful life on those vehicles, on shop tools. Shop tools normally will depend on what they are. Sometimes like tire changers, in some shops, they're only going to last 5 or 6 years because they're used a lot more regularly, where a tire changer for another agency may last 15, 20 years because they're not using it as often. So that's going to be something that really that useful life item for like shop tools, you're going to have to make the decision on that based on when you're going to need to replace it. So if you project out that you're going to need to replace that item in 10 years, 15 years, and you know, you just need to, that's the kind of disposal date that you're going to need to project. Now, one thing on these disposal dates for the inventory sheet and for this non-expendable inventory, they must list 23 or greater. So 2023 or greater. So you cannot have a disposal date listed of 2022 on there. So make sure that when you list a disposal date, it's FY23 or greater. Okay. Fred, did I answer your question okay on those shop tools? Okay, so we'll move on to the fleet replacement form. Fleet replacement form, again, you as an agency will have to fill this out. This will automatically generate this information. You will just need to make sure that it matches this other. You can copy and paste it from over there if you so choose. This is an estimated date of when you are going to take that vehicle out of revenue service. You accumulated mileage, and then, or I'm sorry, this is when you place it in revenue service, and this is when you estimate to take it out of service. Again, this should be realistic and after, you know, be 2023 or after. And the month can be, I recommend putting it at the end of the year, like September of 23. You can always do it before then if you need to, but that's kind of gives you enough cushion so you can extend it on into the next year as well if you need to. Again, if you need more rows or whatever, we can add more rows. But ultimately, when you copy this over, you just need to copy over, you know, the rows that you need to go into the document. And all of this information must be completed. Don't leave out this information or this information. Sometimes you guys accidentally do that. So remember, this has to be filled out completely and in its entirety. And this is just for federally funded vehicles too. You can't list a city or county owned vehicle. Yes, that is correct. Correct, Shane. Only vehicles that have not been identified as replacement vehicles in previous grants. That is correct. Okay, for your vehicle depreciation sheet, this information will automatically generate for you. It's a blue tab, so it's going to automatically generate. You will need to make sure sometimes the rows may need to be adjusted a little wider depending on the values and things. But this should pull straight over. And you'll notice like this vehicle here is a 2005. It is an 18-year-old vehicle and it's going to show a 0 value. Where these that are the, you know, still have, this one has 1 year left. It is showing its value. So all of this will auto generate for you and auto populate the depreciation total. Now, one thing on this particular document, in order to copy and paste it into the grant, you will need to come over here and highlight rows that are not used, right click, and then delete those rows in order to be able to reduce this to 1 page. Because we did do 50 rows on here. So you will have to delete some of these rows in order to get it on 1 page. So I want to point that out to you. But like I said, this will automatically generate. And on this document as well is your useful life information if you need to reference that for the previous document. That is all right here. This is this all changed last year. So just be aware of that, this all changed. So make sure you're within these numbers. There is no more 4 years. Everything's going to be 5 years or greater. So when you go and you're filling out this form over here, make sure you update this useful life to its proper useful life for those vehicles on the inventory form. Okay. Okay. Chart of accounts. This is something we've not done in a few years. The way that it is designed right now, all of this will auto populate for you. This will all pull from those original budget documents that you have done. So this will all calculate. This number you need to verify and make sure it matches with your operations total budget. And this you'll need to make sure that it matches with your administration budget. Okay. This number is basically your admin plus your depreciation. This depreciation number will match back to this depreciation number on your depreciation sheet. Okay. And this is your grand total overall budget for both admin and operations. For the cost allocation matrix, everything is going to pull into this document for you as well. Again, you will see this amount that is here. Enlarge that a little bit so you guys can see. This amount that is here, the 68445, should match back to your cost allocation sheet overall total. So double check that. Then on this cost allocation sheet, this is very important, you will need to go back to your quarterly reports for this year from October forward. you will add up your hours, your passenger service hours, and your passenger service miles from October to the last date that you've reported. You basically, you divide that. You're going to divide that. You're going to divide that by the number that there is, and you're going to get an average. Okay. So you're going to take October through, say, March. You're going to add up all those numbers. Then you're going to divide that by 6 and get a single digit. And then you're going to, for an average, and then you're going to take that average and multiply it by 12 to get a projected yearly total. And that is the amount that you will put in this yellow box. And you do that for the miles and also for the passenger service hours. And you just basically will, type those in. Once you get those averages, the directions are all right here. If you need that, then what will happen is you get a cost per hour, and then you will also get your cost per mile. And hopefully they're a lot greater than these numbers, but I'm just throwing numbers out there for an example. Okay. Last but not least is your checklist. Your name should automatically pull over. This information will not. We encourage you, do not number your pages and do not fill out the checklist until the very last thing. So once you take all of these documents that are in this Excel spreadsheet, you put them into the blank document that we've provided for you. Then you will number the pages within that document. At that point, print this out, go through the document and write down each page number for each document. Make sure every document on the checklist is within your grant application. And if it is, then that way you just come in here and you fill out your page numbers and you put everything, everything needs to be in order of this checklist. So if it says organizational chart, that needs to be direct. Your organizational chart needs to be the next page after that question. And you would just fill out these numbers, and then you'll basically copy this in and paste it into the document as well. But again, number your pages last and fill this out after you number your pages. Then the last tab on your spreadsheet is a miscellaneous tab. This miscellaneous tab provides you with the information that you need within your grant. So for your exhibit 3.4D, question 3.4D, that you need to provide the operating recovery ratio for your grant in that question. Here it is. This, all you've got to do is copy this and paste it into your question. For your exhibit number 9, for your section 11 application letter, all you have to do is copy this information and paste it into the letter template. That also, we even calculated your local assistance amount for that letter. For exhibit number 10, your 5311 local match commitment letter. Again, these are your amounts. These you can't copy and paste in there. You would have to physically type these numbers in because of where they're at in the letter. Kind of show you an example. Let's see. So you kind of better.
James Thomas is at Walmart will call.
Okay, so here's an example. So this is the 5311 application letter. And you can see here, it kind of asks for these amounts. When you're in your spreadsheet for the application letter, here are those amounts. So these are your amounts. So you can basically copy and paste this into this Word document. You can highlight this and paste it in, or you can type it in. If you're more comfortable typing those numbers in, you can type those numbers in, but they are provided there. Same thing with your local match number. This would be your local match number. That of course would just be typed into this area right here. Another example would be for this particular letter, which is the local match commitment letter that you have to fill out. This actually is the amounts that you need there, but you will have to type those in, but you at least already have these numbers. So you could print this out, and then when you're preparing your letters, you will have that information. Kind of the same thing for the resolution. This is your local match monies. I didn't do one for this, but of course you can use that funding sheet this revenue funding sheet that is here. This will help you fill this document out. You can't copy and paste everything over, but it does supply you with the information that you need for that document. And then of course the resolution, this is the amount that will go into the resolution. So we have covered all of the tabs throughout the throughout this Excel spreadsheet, and we are hopeful that this will help you and streamline and make things easier for you, so you don't have to physically calculate your cost allocation matrix and things of that nature. It will also help you to see visually what you can actually put under administration for that 80% review, 80% funding availability. So we hope that this information is helpful to you. I have kind of gone over all of this and done all the talking. So now I am opening the floor up to you guys. Just unmute yourself. If you have some questions, we will gladly help you in any way we can. Does anybody have any questions?
I'd like to say something.
Okay.
This is Laura Weaver. I would like to commend Chandra for what she has done for all of the agencies. As a director, I know how time consuming this grant application can be. And I just think it's phenomenal that she has taken it upon herself to create this document to make everybody's life a whole lot easier. And it will also cut down on any mistakes that we may have made in the past. Chandra took this upon herself, used her time to do this. It was above and beyond what she already does in her position, and I just want to thank her for what she's done. That's all.
Well, that is very kind, but it was a team effort. It was a team effort. It was a team effort. So, we're trying to make things better and easier for you guys. And we hope that we hope it does not confuse you more. But like I said, if there's anything that you have questions with regarding the budget items, if you're not sure where to budget something under this new standardized budget, send your regional manager a question of that, and we will help figure out where it does need to go.
I have a question. Obviously our board doesn't meet till August, so we won't have any resolutions until then. So we just get everything complete and turn it in and then get those later.
Yes, what you'll need to do is the regional managers will not review like one page at a time. So what the goal is for each of you to complete your grant in the entirety. If you would like for us to review it before you submit it to the commission or to your council, that is fine. Submit that to us for us to review, and we will review it. And then if you're not able to meet the deadline of the 10th because of the council meeting dates, some agencies are calling a special meeting. I don't know if that's an option for you, Carl, but or doing it in a planning meeting or something like that as well. If that's not an option for you, then what you'll do is you'll make sure your application is submitted by the deadline, and then submit basically a letter on letterhead saying, our council meeting is not until this date. The final signed documentation will be submitted at that time. And then that way we can go ahead and submit the unsigned documents, and then just replace them with the signed documents later. Your processing of your grant will take longer if you don't meet the deadline.
All right. Thank you.
I did get
Good
a
morning,
question.
Sandra.
Yes.
Good morning. I have a question on the line item budget, just say for operation. I see there are more lines, like you say, like for FICA, Social Security, unemployment compensation, workman compensation, health insurance, and stuff like that. Okay, how do we need to break that out? Because we won't know that information until like a payroll period come for your, FICA, Social Security, stuff like that. Are we going to estimate those lines, or do they need to, do an amount need to be there? That's what I'm trying to ask. Like health insurance.
So what you're going to need to do is, you should be able to, which I know you guys are a little set up a little differently, but a lot of times your human resources department already knows what they're paying in for the agency regarding those amounts because of what they're having to pay in. So they probably can pull some of that based on invoices and just do a good calculation based on what your invoices are.
Okay, so just look at our previous year and kind of estimate from there on each one of those.
Yes, okay. Because it should be listed, you're already paying those things and doing those things, it's probably listed under your fringes.
It is. Okay, all right.
Now, had a couple of questions that have come in on the chat, so I'm going to answer those. What are some of the items that we can use for in-kind besides rent and utilities? For in-kind, most of the time, agencies are using rent type things, which they're going out and you have to have an appraisal done, a formal appraisal done in order to have an in-kind plan to do that. I'm going to kind of defer to the meetings that are coming up on the 17th, 18th, and 19th, because my understanding is they will kind of cover a little bit more on the in-kind and indirect cost information. So I'm going to defer any further comments on that kind of stuff to Mike and them on those meetings, because they'll go into a lot more depth on that. The next question is, how do we figure our cost per mile and hours for our contracts? Can that be the figures from these spreadsheets? The answer to that question for FY23, the cost allocation sheet that you are doing in this area here, this cost allocation sheet, these will be the numbers that you will use. And of course, this is unrealistic, but I'm gonna say jump this up to 200 hours to kind of give you a, I'm gonna do this one 200. So normally they're going to look more like in this cost range here, but these costs per hour and per mile are what you will use. If this is a big variance from what you've previously been using, then we'll talk about that when you start forming your grants. There may be a way for us to look at your actual expenses versus the budget numbers and kind of talk through that. But these are the numbers on the cost allocation sheets right here that you will use for your FY23 grants. Okay, all right. All right, what other questions do we have?
Chandra, this is Fred.
Yes, sir.
You know, we've had a shop now for a pretty good while. And you know, as time goes on with like tools and stuff like that, you know, wrenches and things of that nature, old, you know, vacuums, and I mean, just a lot of stuff that we have that we currently are listing every year on our report as a non-expendable stuff. Some of that stuff is like, I mean, over 10 years old.
Mhm.
But we're still kind of listing those, but as those like you know, wet and dry vacs and stuff, some of that stuff, when it breaks, you know, we just kind of take those things off. And if we get another one, we'll, you know, actually add that on, another one on.
Correct.
But a lot of that stuff that we had came through our money,
Mhm.
but we're still, you know, we're still listed. But some of this new stuff that we're getting is not, it's not R, you know, so we're just listing it under just the regular 5311. Is there anything else we need to do, or do we just need to continue to do that? Some of that stuff I'm almost sure after 10 years, you know, it's probably past what you would
Yeah,
call
yeah.
useful life on it,
Well, they,
but we're still tracking them.
right. Well, now, if the acquisition cost was less than $5,000,
Mhm.
you no longer have to list them.
Well, that's better, because I mean, it's just a lot of little stuff that we were listing, like, you know, a tool set that was $80 or $100, you know, and it's just real time consuming to do that. But I'm with this $5,000 thing, I think that'll help us out a lot.
It is, and you know, those are, you know, they changed that last year. And so it's kind of something new. So that's why we are pointing that out, because there, you know, some people had small office equipment and things like that on there, and you can budget for that type of stuff. And that is something that I do want to mention. For those of you who need updated computer software, or if you need a new scanner, or if you need new things like that, budget that in your administration budget under this office equipment, and go ahead and budget that so you can get that updated and upgraded for you. You know, those are some valuable things that will help you do your job better, especially as we continue to move to the TMS. That's going to help you a lot more in the future as well, because with TMS, you will have the ability to like scan in documents and things. So it'll be really great for you to have that equipment that you need to be able to function better and easier for you as an agency, if you have the money for the match, of course, you know. But those are some things that I do want you to point out to you guys that you do have available to you to be able to get. Is there any other questions? Now, come on. I know that normally y'all have tons of questions. Are y'all just not awake? Did I do the meeting early enough that you guys are all not hyped up on coffee yet? Is that what it is?
I'm sure as you start filling out this form, we'll have questions, but right now, I don't have it.
I promise, if you do it, you know, it is designed to try to be as easy and as simple as possible. I think you know, and everybody's pretty familiar with a copy and pasting. So that should be a pretty easy function to copy and paste it over into the grant. You know, so we believe that it's going to be, you know, helpful. So, and this is
Chandra,
the maiden voyage. So you guys know if there's any hiccups, there might be some, even though as much as we've tested it, there still could be something that we've not thought of. Yeah, Lauren, go ahead.
why don't you just, you know, for the sake of showing them, just in case,
Okay.
copy and paste over into the blank document, just as an example.
Okay. All right. Not a problem. So, I'm here at the budget line item. So basically, to copy and paste a document, you basically highlight what you want to copy over. Okay. I right click, it's just laziness on me, and then I click copy, which is here. It's basically going to kind of, you'll see the lines of what you're copying on here. You can, this little arrow down here, you can zoom out. I'm gonna zoom out just so you can kind of see what all it's copying. It's copying this whole area here. And then to go into, this is the blank document. You basically will go down to where it's, where the budget is. I gotta find it first, but I should have picked something earlier in the budget. Okay. So this is where you're basically gonna put all your budget worksheets. You just basically, what I do is I highlight this to remove it, and then I hit paste. And boom, it's there. And if for some reason, when you do paste something in, this automatically paste. And of course, these budget sheets are a lot longer because of the standardized budget, but that's okay. Don't delete any of the items or anything, leave them consistent. But you'll notice there's a little white square over here. I don't know if you guys can see that little white square, but if something does not fit on the sheet, you can come over and scroll over the top of that, and you can see, let me see if I can. I don't know if it'll do it. Let me see. I'll try to enlarge it so you can see. But you see this little white square that's over here. If you get that little white square, you get the little arrow that has an arrow on both ends. You can take and then move this and make it different sizes. See, all you have to do is move it, and it'll move it to different sizes. So if it does not fit for some reason, which they are designed so that they will fit, you can drop, and you can take that little white square and move it to whatever size you want it to be, so that it'll fit. So that is an example of, like for instance, this is on 3 pages. If you want it on, 2 pages, you can streamline it down to make it so that it looks a little bit better. But that's ultimately how this little white square will kind of move it and adjust it for you.
We should be able to paste from our own public drive to, like the rider passenger guides and things like that. We should be able to paste that as well, correct?
Correct. And sometimes on your brochures, they will not paste. So what you can do on what I recommend to do, and since this is just I'm gonna just kind of go up here. Say for instance, if you've got your document guide, save it as a photo or a PDF. Save it as a photo, as a JPEG document. And the easiest way to do that is you just come up here and hit insert. Then you would go to pictures, and I think I've got one on here. So let me see. I think I've got Troy's on here somewhere. Yeah, I do. So, and then you'll find that brochure as a PDF, and you just click it and then hit insert. And then it'll insert in. Then you can take, after you insert that picture, you can turn it this way by this little arrow document here. And then of course, again, with it, if you grab this little dot down here, you can enlarge it or make it smaller, whatever you want to do. But know that we do have to be able to read this, because the regional managers need to make sure that you've got your reasonable modification and your complaint policy being advertised. So, make sure that it is large enough to be able to read it. But inserting a JPEG or a picture image is much easier than to insert a Word document into a PDF document into a Word document.
Yeah. Now, our guide's more than one page, so will that still work as a picture or?
It will, you will just have
Okay.
each page as a picture is what you would
Okay.
do. Mhm. And you'll notice when I copied and pasted this over, it didn't come in. You'll have a little layout guide that pops up like this. If you hit this little layout guide that is top and bottom, what that means is the text will stay above or below it. So as you add text, it will move with that text, okay?
Okay.
Okay. Lauren, is there anything else you think that I missed that we should go over?
Not that I can think of.
Okay. All right. All right. Okay. I am recording this training. I did it on the cloud, so I will figure out how to get a link out and I'll get that to the regional managers in case anybody wants to follow back up and review this. Again, we encourage you as your regional managers to reach out to us if you have questions. We're here to help you. We're here to partner with you. You know, and, you know, just reach out. You know, we want this to not be a horrible process for you. We want to make it as easy as we can. So don't hesitate to ask any questions, okay? Is there any other questions? Lauren, Laura, anything else from you guys?
Nope.
Okay.
No, great job. Thank you.
Yes,
Okay.
thank you.
All right.
Thank you very much.
You are very, very welcome. You guys don't forget about the trainings that are coming up the 17th, 18th, and 19th. They will cover some different, you know, different things for you. I don't know. Just kind of looking through to see. All right. Well, you guys are set then. If there's no other questions, last question call.
Thank you so much, and happy Mother's Day.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. Happy Mother's Day to all you mothers that are on too. So, well, you guys dive in and have fun then.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Have a great weekend.
Okay, you too. Thank you.
Bye.